Well, winter certainly came. In a big steaming pile of anime all over my plate straight from the bowels of the industry. Well, that's ruined. So that means I needed to pick shows to follow, which I used my usual method to do so. Of course, naming a group of hamsters after all the shows and forcing them to fight to the death until I had some clear winners. And boy, did I get some fucking winners this spin around the old seasonal roulette wheel. Boogiepop Wa Warawanai looks to be a horror thriller with enough 90s nostalgia injected to fuel an entire BuzzFeed article. But what else do you expect from Madhouse? Egao no Daika might as well be generic Code Geass clone number 32 for all I care. W's? Was? Wise? Fuck it, next. Lespret steps out of their safe little Cinderella Girls box with Ueno-san wa Bukyou, a raunchy comedy that'll probably have me rolling my eyes. But I have to pick at least one shitty comedy to bitch about, so it might as well be this one. Mahou Shoujo Tokushusen Asuka is filling in the void for a dark magical girl series since Madoka left the scene for those too skittish to venture into the porn genre where dark magical girl shows are plentiful. Satellite looks to throw their hat in the crowded sci-fi military ring this season with Girly Airforce. Kemurikusa already makes me want to carve my eyes out with a spoon. And I apparently need some romance in my life because I sure as fuck ain't getting any with my poor choice in hobbies. So Domestic na Kanojo is here to save the day by reminding me how horrible relationships can actually be. And lastly, the return of Mob Psycho 100 for Season 2, something I'm legitimately excited about. I've got a hell of a roster this time around, so let's dive into this monstrosity of horror and sci-fi. Already setting a great tone for 2019 with dark and depressing schlock to fuel my winter depression, and find if any of this is actually worth my time. I suppose I'll start things off with a show that piqued my interest right off the bat, Boogiepop Wa Warawanai. This looks to be a horror/mystery series, and I'm drawn to those like a moth to flame. Getting this series some bonus points is it being produced by Madhouse, so I was already sold on checking it out straight from the gate. This doesn't appear to be a remake of the 2000 title also produced by Madhouse, nor a straight adaptation of the original light novel, so if you're worried about a barrier for entry on that front, I'd say don't be. The whole affair has a chunibyo taste, though taken much more seriously, feeling like a mental breakdown on the part of the main girl with her weird outfit and new personality, but there's more at play here than what's initially presented. That's where the mystery elements come in. Not to mention some gory cutaways promising some edginess to sate my inner angsty teenager. The art direction's fantastic, as expected from a Madhouse production. I'm a fan of the art style and overall flow the series has. The first episode felt like a massive exposition dump, and I'm not exactly a fan of it, but ultimately I'm on board for the show due to the intrigue it built. But that's probably my nostalgia boner talking. Let's look at something that's basically aerated chocolate, Egao no Daika, a sci-fi military show with robots and a future human race. Doesn't that sound awesome? Think again. The description for this series was boredom incarnate, filled with generic, non-actiony information that wrote this series off as a piece of fun fluff. The first episode didn't do much to change my initial impression either. A lot is thrown at the audience off the bat, and I found myself having a hard time caring. Call it an info dump overload. The second half did pick up a bit by introducing some actual conflict to focus the random imagery, but then again, mech battles always spice up boring political dramas. This series very well could have been dropped by me entirely if the last few seconds didn't hint at an actual plot. I'm not happy it took them that long to get to it. I don't have high expectations for this series. The animation is flat and relies heavily on CG for the mech battles, nor do the characters stand out. I'll give it a few more episodes to see if it can pique my interest further. The ending does a decent job hooking me in for the next episode, however, so at least it has that going for it. Let's move on to a show with a weird name and an odd premise that caught my eye. Wise is how I'm deciding to pronounce that. I was hopeful this wouldn't be awful, but times like this, I'm glad I perpetually temper my expectations. A few seconds into this series, and I nearly gouged my eyes out due to the searing pain caused by the abrupt cuts. The editing here feels like a shoddily produced AMV made by a high school student who just pirated Sony Vegas for the first time in their miserable life. People give a lot of shit to shows for using CG characters to ease the animation process, but I'm actually far more harsh on a series for using PlayStation 2 era CG mixed with a single 2D character. Not even a minute in, and I'm ready to burn my computer for daring to offend my senses with this abysmal animation. If, and that's a big if, I do stick with this one, it'll only be to prop up as a bad example. Going into every failing on this episode requires too much time for what I have, so let's just tuck this away for now. I'm officially calling this the year 1. Between Mob Psycho 100 Season 2 and One Punch Man Season 2, I've got plenty to be excited for this year. Mob was a fantastic little gem that immediately jumped out to me. Aside from trying to leech some success from the recent One Punch Man adaptation when it was released, Bones threw their heart and soul into the animation to bring the quirky humor and unique style of One to life, successfully I would say. So Season 2 is finally here, and what do you expect? Well, more of what made Season 1 great, and the first episode delivers on that. If you're sold on the OP protagonist struggling with something their immense power cannot help them with, then much like One's other work, this will be sure to grab you. But what this series has going for it that One Punch Man doesn't is you can tell One specifically cares about the characters he's crafted, and that carries over into the script for the series itself. The art may look rough on the surface, but if that's a hang-up, give it a chance. You'll find there's an entire world of beauty lying just beneath the surface with the blending of various distinct art styles and striking colors. I'm pumped for this series, and I was from the moment it was announced, so hell yeah, I'm watching this one. Well then, back to the shit list. We've got Kemurikusa, which looks like PlayStation 1 era graphics, face-fucked Miku Miku dance in the ear for a demented love child sure to cause 7 years of darkness. I'm not sure what I saw in this series, besides the promise of sci-fi, which seems to be a running theme this season, but I'm instantly regretting it a few seconds into the first episode. I understand why CG is becoming more common in anime. It saves on production costs due to the reusability of models and ease of animation as a whole. But this isn't appealing. Oh, and look, the monster things look like cheap knockoffs of stalkers from Breath of the Wild. Yeah, okay, zero effort all around then. This show fell flat on its face with the abrupt way it throws events at the audience and then is undercut in the very next scene. So the plot's crap, the animation's garbage, and there's no originality. I don't know who thought animating some crappy mouths horribly off sync to something that'd make a real doll pass for a living person was a good idea, but somebody needs fired for this. I'm offended for the medium of animation on principle for this abomination daring to exist. When your series looks like a Chinese bootleg of Ruby, you fucked up. Next, Ueno-san wa Bukyou grossed me out a mere minute into its first episode when she tried to force a guy to drink her piss. Nasty. Lucky for me, the episodes are short. The art is simple stuff, but passes for the rapid-fire comedy the series strives for. I appreciate the fast-paced dialogue reminiscent of other short series like Plastic Nason. The over-the-top delivery, fueled by a smart tsundere too embarrassed to admit her feelings for the guy in her club, is at least entertaining in short bursts. Despite the gross intro, this looks to be a quick time waster that I'm not expecting a ton out of, and it even managed to chuckle out of me. Now on to Girly Airforce, a series that sorta piqued my interest when browsing the seasonal charts, and of the sci-fi shows I've looked at thus far, has the best hook. A massive explosion fest with a fight for survival within the first few minutes that establishes the general conflict the world it's in. Was that so hard? Apparently. A mysterious, possibly alien menace fended off by high school girls flying fighter jets is novel enough on the surface to check it out. Overall, I'm in the middle of the road on this series. It's not bad by any stretch, but it's also not standing out enough to sell me outright. In a season packed with mediocre action series plagued by jarring CG, if you can't decide which one to pick, go with this one. I'll at least stick it out to see where it goes since the first episode was one of the more successful ones this season, despite trying its damnedest to lose the audience with technical jargon. Oh, finally, something good to watch. Domestic na Kanojo feels like a budget Kuzu no Honkai, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The whole thing has a lighter tone, however, that was refreshing. Maybe I'm just a sucker for high school romance stories where sex isn't treated as pure fat material. Then again, the main drive for the drama in this series is contrived almost to the point of farce. Seriously, the dude's teacher crush and the girl he banged becoming his stepsisters due to marriage sounds like a bad doujinshi plot. But otherwise, this is a nice surprise in a season so far lacking in clear winners. The first episode does a great job setting up the characters and an attempt at telling the story visually without being obnoxious too. And that fucking opening was banging. This is a series that will require more episodes to get my full thoughts on, but for a first impression, I'm enjoying it. Mahou Shoujo Tokushusen Asuka feels like a sweet throwback to a simpler time by throwing us into the thick of a typical magical girl going about her daily routine. And by that, I mean battling a giant evil bug monster. They're trying to nail that feeling of a standard magical girl setup, but fuck me if you don't need to be familiar with the tropes to get it. Otherwise, you're gonna feel like you accidentally started on episode 25 of the series. Then again, that's not really the point the show is going for. The down and dirty is imagine magical girls were a part of the military, which is a splice of two genres I don't think I've seen before. There's themes of PTSD and life after war that seems like a fresh take to apply to the magical girl genre, and that's got me interested. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna stick this one out for the dark tones and gritty aesthetic. I feel like I'm coming up short this season. Everything's coming up too samey with all the action and sci-fi. Hold on. Wheel of Depravity, turn, turn, turn. Tell me the series that I should spurn. Oh great. Might as fucking well. Watashi ni Tenshi ga Maiorita is a lesbian comedy show. And I know I just sold half of you already. Oh, and it's about a college girl lusting after an elementary school kid? It is Japan, so I suppose they had to make it creepy somehow. Because it can't be a comedy without some sort of one-sided sexual tension leading to a girl blushing profusely. I can't be too harsh on this show, the pitiful older girl character's patheticness did get a small smirk out of me. So if you want to watch an adult drool over a little kid, which is a disturbing amount of people, as she tries to dress her in cosplay, then this'll be right up your alley. For me, however, this is a dime a dozen comedy that I'm already numb to, and it doesn't stand out in the slightest. Now that I've officially had a snow kake blasted all over my face with a flurry of shows desperately vying to hype me up for the year, I think it's time to settle into 2019 proper. After all, what is life without edgy magical girls, poorly rendered CG monstrosities, and lesbian soon-to-be child molesters warming our screens every night with a dumpster fire of mediocrity? Just imagine for a second. Yeah, I wish that was my life too. But unfortunately, we're stuck with this. So happy 2019, everybody! My New Year's resolution is to be as sober for as little time as humanly possible because with this many headaches, I'm gonna need something to take the edge off. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and do all the other YouTube stuff because that really helps me out. Thanks for watching.